Howdy, Weavers. I am Spence, and I am getting an echo for
Hello.
some reason. But that's okay. I'm Spence. Welcome to Weaver Circle. This is a podcast and live stream where we are talking to the people involved in our games that are being played on Weave the Tale on their Twitch channel. And today we are talking to Anthony, who is our head chef for this season's game of Chew, which airs on Fridays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So, Anthony, hi, how are you?
Hi. Oh, I'm so happy to be on here. This is my first time getting just a story interview like this, and I'm so happy to talk about myself and the games. I'm just so happy to do it.
We're totally excited to have you on. So to start with, let's talk about you and
hmm
your experience as a in the RPG community as a GM or as a player.
Yeah. So I'm hi everybody. I'm Anthony. You can find me on Twitter up here at PrainnthePlague. It's a little moniker that I love to go by. So I started playing RPGs around 6 years ago. So I'm Guatemalan Cuban. I was raised in Miami, and I went up north, to go to school, and that's really where I started to get into the concept of shared imaginary spaces. Before that, I'd always been thinking about them in games or board games, or maybe I was just kind of pretending, that I wasn't playing role playing games. But I dropped it, and I jumped on, the Dragon game bandwagon, 6 years ago, and it was a lot of fun. I loved it. Played ridiculous amounts of fifth edition. But when we got to the pandemic, I started to not really be able to see anybody anymore, and that's where I joined the wider community, and it's just been amazing from there, like seeing everybody playing so many new games, uh, and now streaming on Weave the Tale every Friday, right, and sometimes Wednesdays too. So it's a great
I
time.
know. I've loved watching you in the one shots, and we played in a one shot together, right?
Ye-
I feel like
I
we did,
I I
but
think
I
that
don't remember.
you know
There's so many
there's
things.
been a lot. Yeah, there's been a lot, which
Yeah.
is nice.
So let's talk a little bit about Chew as the game
hmm
itself. I mean, the premise itself is very interesting and it's been fully backed on Kickstarter. Tell us a little bit about the game, what the premise is, and who your players are thematically.
Okay, so the game for me, it's FDA agents on the run from the FDA, and this is done to sort of showcase, the seedy underbelly of the FDA and the kind of decisions they make worldwide. And so we have Baron Ham, who is this sort of suave Torte Espadero, playing a hotshot playbook. And sort of really kind of delving it. Yeah, I love that the chat has them, and balding, always with the gas, the gas station Doritos and a sort of sunglasses. And this is somebody who's already been kind of on the run from the FDA, somebody that's already been a rogue agent, somebody that's not really interested in working with them. And then we have Callie Mari, who's playing the veteran playbook right now,
I
who, yeah,
love the
although
name.
all food puns, it has to be. It's the
Yes.
only way my brain processes at this point. And in fact, we'll get to it later, but Callie recently faced, their trouble in last week's session, and that was a huge thing that I loved. But Callie Mari essentially is this person who's just always on the lookout for what's going on, trying to uncover every little detail and secret, with quirks that are able to, you know, get at the heart of what's going on with everybody. And I just
Mhm.
love having like that kind of magnifying glass character. Um, we have Dinah, which is a fun like Union City accent. Jersey Mama Maple, who's playing
Mhm.
our mascot playbook and is really interested in sort of speaking to everybody in a very saccharine, nice way. Um, just trying to be the calm, tort sharing, hard candy sharing, grandmotherly figure that really gets at the heart of everybody. um, and then now we have like Colby Jack, who's played by our wonderful tech Sam, who's teching today. Thank you so much again, Sam. And this is our foil to the group, our vegan, who disagrees with the many food, animal eating practices that go on, around our games, but at the same time, kind of guiding the wider agents, um, you know, towards where they really should be going, playing the expert. So it's just it's been a lot of fun to see
Hmm.
everybody together. And then of course we have our newest Yakuza character. We have Rob, um, playing Bobby Bourbon, who's the sort of the low life playbook. The sort of rugged, now willing to lie, cheat, and steal wherever he can. Used to work with the
Hmm.
Yakuza, now joining the party, and it's just like this motley crew, right, of people who have some sort of connections to the FDA, and sort of I guess best able to analyze it and pinpoint its shortcomings, as we uncover their effects on the wider world, and that's
Right.
been it's been amazing.
Well, by name only, and no offense to my friends who are in the chat, but Bobby Bourbon is going to be my favorite. Just you know, bourbon is my favorite drink, and I do love everything that is Japanese storylines, and sushi is my favorite food. So, um, Colby Jack comes in second.
Colby Jack. Colby Jack is great. It's for me my favorite food pun. Personally, if they're watching, sorry everybody, it's definitely going to be calamari. I just
But
could not
hey,
get over it.
I
Uh,
mean, it's great. It's absolutely great. So why are these agents on the run from the FDA? Like, what's the FDA's beef?
all right, so yeah. So it started, in Central America, in Banana Republic territory, as it usually does with overreaching imperial U.S. agencies. But essentially, they were on a relatively secret mission out of the country that the FDA usually doesn't do, or if it does with more red tape on a cargo plane, where they get a call from Mike Appleby, who's this director of the FDA in the comics, is just a super important, tough guy, uh, you know, kind of hard ass character, and just
Mhm.
sort of puts them in their place. Hey guys, it's you, not us. We gotta drop some dead weight, and so they cut them off. They don't have the overreach. They don't have the power to completely, expunge their identities and everything they've already done in service during this, the bird flu panini, as it were. But it's enough to essentially take away any further support from them. Uh, the cargo plane explodes and they fall to the nearby mountains in Peru, where it kind of kicks off. So they've been trying to figure out evidence thereon as to why Mike Appleby cut them off and why they're blacklisted. And they're getting a little bit closer.
So here's the thing that I don't quite understand about
Mm-hmm.
Chew yet, and I'm hoping you can explain it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Based on the trailer uh for Chew,
Mm-hmm.
chicken is illegal. Now, is it that chicken, the alive creature, is illegal, or is it the consumption of chicken? Because I really like eggs, so I want to make sure that I can have eggs.
Eggs. I love that question because it really strikes at the core of the hypocrisy and the paradoxes of the true world. The bird flu happened, and
Hmm.
chicken and all avian related products became illegal. Not only themselves, the products, but the distribution, the shadowy hiding. So one of the first jokes in the comics is actually like Tony Chu and Jag, his partner, and they're kind of looking at somebody doing a stakeout, and a small man comes out with a little bit of chicken, and he's like, "Fried, probably spent his whole paycheck on just that little bit. Not worth busting him." And then this guy comes out with 2 pounds of raw uncooked chicken, and like these crates, and it's just like this allegory for the wider drug war, and it's really quite funny how it works out like that. Eggs are illegal, and there are terrorists, so-called, dedicated to their defense. So
But
if I were you, like me, I would join those those egg terrorists.
but but soft boiled eggs and ramen is the best thing ever.
It's the best thing.
I do want to make one correction in the Twitch chat, which is I did not voice the trailer. I did the audio editing on the trailer for the Kickstarter. That is the definition. They actually had another voice actor whose name is escaping me right now, but I believe it's Melissa. Um, that did the voiceover, and it is really good. Y'all should check it out on Kickstarter. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so my favorite foods are now off the menu, and that makes me really sad. Are there any other foods that are illicit? Or is it just avian based foods? Like, is turkey
It's
legal or no?
no, see, no, no, not either.
So
But nobody,
turkey,
it's
quail, duck, it's all off the table.
everything. And I love quail eggs. So, I love eating quail
Right?
eggs. So it's
You make them as if you do scotch eggs with quail eggs, they are bite size and they are delicious. I could
they're
talk
so
about
good.
food all day. I'm hungry
Oh
again
my,
and
but
I just ate.
that's the point. So something that's been really fun for me actually is that, I mean, this get up is not just for show. Every week I cook some food relevant to the area that they're going to be in. So for
Oh,
Peru, I had papas a la huancaína and ají de gallina, and these are two traditional Peruvian dishes with like a cheddar milk reduction, with chicken and like papa relleno, like you put it inside the potatoes and kind of, cooks inside of it as well. And it tastes like almost like Cheez-Its. It's delicious. It's really quite good. I've cooked, now like steak. I've made fries, and then of course, like more recently, I'm Guatemalan. They're going to be heading to Guatemala soon, so I've cooked like tamales. I've cooked pan con frijol. I've cooked huevo ranchero. All kinds of just delicious delicacies.
mhm.
And that's a huge part of it for me too, is that I want to introduce, by the way, everybody, it's on Kickstarter now. So, make sure to go check it out. It's Chew, get a
There
chalk
there should
bucket.
be a command for chew. Hey
Yeah, it's a
moderator, what's
chew.
the command for chew?
It's actually, it's
So
quite, there we go.
um
Like,
so the um so I was going to ask, your background is really influencing the setting of this game. Um so are these tried and true places that you've been to that you have family roots in and everything?
Guatemala,
Oh.
yes. So I'm like, my mother is Guatemalan, and she's
Mhm.
like very Nahuatl indigenous in
Mhm.
like the mountains near Quetzaltenango in Guatemala, and so this next session is actually going to be near that area because I just felt like I'd be able to speak best to my own region that I have roots in. But I spent time with my family there, and it's gorgeous. It's still my favorite trip, and I've been lucky enough to travel a little more than I'd like. So it's just beautiful. I'd love to spend all my time there. But Miami being a place, a sort of salad mixing bowl of different Hispanic cultures,
Mhm.
which we live in a complete different bubble from the rest of the continental United States in that way.
Right.
It's was very easy for me to speak towards at least other cultures' culinary practices, because dish days and dish sharing has been such a huge part of like my racial experience, like in Miami. Um, so that's why I started in Central America. That's why I started in Central and South America. But I'm hoping to move towards Europe and Asia as like bigger places to explore. At least like the culinary aspects of it that I can't wait. But also in Chu, there's international factions, but you don't actually
Mhm.
go to these places, and that was a huge part of it for me. Is like I would love to see what these factions that are nationalistic or based in certain regions in their home territories, and how they would act with a home court advantage against the imperialistic FDA. So that's been a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
Well, if you need any inspiration on Western Europe, let me know because I grew up in the Netherlands, so I know a thing or
Oh,
two about a thing or two. Uh,
oh my God.
they do
But that's
not
actually
have a
really cool.
national. They do not have a national food. They have immigrant food that's all mashed together, and it's delicious.
Delicious.
Uh, it's absolutely
That's real.
delicious.
That's really
Uh,
cool.
so let's talk about the story so far, because if
Okay.
people are going to jump in tomorrow and watching the game, what are where did you all leave off?
Okay. So, uh, troubles are a huge part of the game system in the sense that everybody has some issue that they're dealing with. So last session we left off with Calimari dealing with the person at the root of her trouble, right? In the way that she saw best. But they've received information that a war is now going to really happen between the factions that they've been dealing with for the last couple sessions in Guatemala. And this is going to be kind of the Battle of the Five Armies moment that I'm hoping to have for the
Mhm.
campaign. So that's going to be, it's going to be like the climax and resolution all in one of the first continental arc, as it were.
Mhm.
Next week is going to be starting in a new continent, whether it be Asia or Europe, depending on the information that they get, and that's super fun. This week and next week is going to be a great way to get some story ends tied up to see what was going on in that first region, and then kind of start
Mhm.
fresh in a new place, wherever that may be, right?
Right.
So that's where we're at currently.
Okay. Now, you talked about troubles. Are there any other really neat storytelling mechanics that should be highlighted that people who have not played the game or tried it out should know?
Yeah, most importantly, so this is a Forged in the Dark game, and it does share a lot of the narrative benefits that Forged in the Dark, that Blaze in the Dark and Forged in the Dark game systems do, and that makes it a lot of fun. But those are more common. I would say that the really really unique one that's super fun here is that because it's a mystery and detective style game, there's a cork board, and you get to do your uh, wild conspiracy theory, connecting dots to dot on a real corkboard that, I mean, we use one online, but I have a whiteboard here right above my my screens here, mimicking little post-it notes but with little lines drawing about what's going where. There's just a picture of a chicken in the middle. So the corkboard is, I would say, the most obvious uh, mystery tool that keeps everybody
Mhm.
in line with the narrative and what's happening. So for example, on the corkboard, all the factions that they're seeing tomorrow, are going to be there.
Mhm.
So we have man-eating alpacas who have evolved past alpacadom. They have a specific term for themselves, Broma formutaires, who eat people and then become people. The horrors of Argentina we'll get into later. But yeah.
Wait, 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 wait,
um,
wait, wait, wait. Are
yeah,
they
it's wild.
I have so many questions right
So
now, and the
many.
only thing I can think of is Cusco from The Emperor's New Groove, and I'm like, they're talking llamas that eat people? Wait a minute.
You, you're the first one to make that connection, but yes, they did in fact find talking alpacas and llamas in the Andes mountain ranges. So
Oh
exactly. Uh, but now, they're rising up against their oppressors, who have made them this way against their will, with, guns and the help of guerrilla warfighters, throughout Central and South America, right? Um, so we have kind of uh, three major, on this corkboard. You'd see on the bottom right, you'd see the Pakash, as they were called, instead of the alpacas. They've dropped that name. The bottom left, you would see the USDA, which is another U.S. agency, kind of uh, conflicting with the FDA as to who has jurisdiction and who gets to imperialize, the most effectively and efficiently, right, across regions.
Mhm.
When you meet them in Starbound, it's the same thing. And then to the top, you would see El Gran Pollo Army, and it's the Great Army of the Chickens. And these are all the chickens that have illegalized. Their existence has been determined to be uh, no longer needed, and so they're rising up with the help of a war hero capable of destroying thousands and cybernetic enhancements. Um, it's it's quite. This is true. This happened. This is what would happen in the Trueverse
Mm-hmm.
if these people met. And you know what? I'm just here playing it out.
I I want to run Chew now in the Static Dawn game because now I want cybernetic animals in the Static Dawn universe because
you
it would be
either
terrifying.
you either live long enough to see yourself eat people or become a cyborg. There is no in between.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Um okay. Are there any other cool okay. No, hang on.
There's so much.
There's so much. There's so much. So the FDA is overreaching. Are
Yes.
they not at all working with other food and drug administrations in other countries, or they're just like, "Nah, we're going to take care of it because we're America." America.
That's exactly it. So in that first episode, we had the Midagri, which is actually the real Peruvian, ministry for it's essentially like the equivalent of the FDA, right, in
Right.
Peru. And so this is something that I've actually had like the great opportunity to speak with the creators of the Chew game, but also a lot
Mhm.
of Chew experts, Chew experts. I'm going to put that word into everything I possibly can.
Two
And you know
spurts.
what? One thing I really was curious about, I'm like, if this happened in the US, would these other agencies be given similar powers? And resoundingly, the answer was yes. So I love that idea that these agencies now represent a big part of the military power that these countries can exude, right? And kind of contribute to this global war economy, right? That they needn't
Right.
necessarily be a part of. And it's so fun to see how the FDA would come in and be like, uh, Peru's food problems are under our jurisdiction. Your chickens are now ours. And then they flash
Mhm.
their equivalent badges and they're like, actually, not anymore. You're not. You're not in charge. It's us, right? And it just the back and forth there. Um, yes, there are other agencies. So far, they've only met one. But
Uh-huh.
going into some of the other continents, you're going to start to see some of their the interplay of these agencies and the power grabs therein. It's going to be
Wow.
kind of rough.
I am excited. Now, I am reading in chat and I actually just learned this today on my stream when I was hyping up this interview. Um that Chew is a comic.
It is comic.
Have you read the comic? Cuz I have not, but I am like, "Oh no. Now this is a new comic that I need to find and put in my life because I love comics and graphic novels."
It's it's gripping. I mean, the thesis, and it was, John Layman and Rob Guillory, they kind of came to it and they were like, what if, a major crisis happened, right? Like, that gave the FDA similar powers to Homeland Security, essentially, and how that would play out. So it, I mean, it's a two Eisner Award winning comic series, and I knew nothing about it prior to running Chew. But of course, before I started running, uh, you know, I just dove into it, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna read, two volumes, whatever, right? And then I'm just, just what happens, with the family and these different food criminals, grander food politics. It's just nothing like anything I've seen before. By the way, the
Right.
chef's hat you can thank our wonderful tech for acquiring for me. I actually have two chef hats, this one and a second. They are everywhere, but I got this one at my local Michael's.
So, for for the podcast listeners, we if you join us live, you can ask questions in the live recording. And so the question from Fable Forge RPG was, "Where can I find that impeccable chef's hat?" So that is where uh, the answer come from. Michaels does not sponsor us, unfortunately, but they should because I do all the things with Yarn and we'll be doing
It's
giveaways.
true.
I will be doing giveaways of Weaver. This is the little, so what I'm showing the camera is a little crocheted octopus that is in the shape of our mascot Weaver. And yeah, we will be doing giveaways for the shows towards the end of the season, so keep an eye out for that. And yeah, yeah.
They're so cute. They're so cute. I love the little
I'm
weavers.
sorry. I tangents, lots of tangents today.
It's so much fun.
So I'm gonna give the chat an opportunity to ask questions, because we are gonna start wrapping up um, the interview. But Anthony, I want to find out, like, what has been some of your highlights thus far?
Okay. I'll give you one from each. So, episode one was a essentially a hamster or guinea pig that was meant for death and the eating of a village, as is common
Oh,
in
right.
Peru, right? As a dish called cuy. Um,
I
but
forgot that was a
this animal,
thing.
it indeed. No, but that, and such a huge, it's a fun part of the, of the campaign. But Chuchi, the guinea pig, who was golden and bright, glowing, lived for longer than anybody had imagined, was actually a cibopath, and that was something that can, when you eat something, you can detect its memories. And so this cibopath was really instrumental in figuring out what had happened in that session. However, the stress, the toil of it had taken its toll on the elderly Chuchi, and kind of perished peacefully, and put and buried without being eaten. As it regained its true freedom. For being a sort of like mini deity for the village. So that's takes the cake, right? For one, and a cargo plane exploded that episode. So a lot happened in episode one. Episode two was definitely the Pakash leading our wonderful agents down to Argentina, and eventually kind of showing them their feeding grounds, as it were, where
Mhm.
they came from, where they stored their human flesh mountains of the city that they had been devouring, to evolve into the creatures, the chimera-like creatures we see today. So the horror on the players' faces was definitely a fun part, of of episode two, and then episode
Mhm.
three was by far Calamari confronting this, like essentially the personification of her trouble,
Right.
and kind of getting to really decide what happened to this person who was in charge of the development of these alpacas. Did he deserve it? Did he not? Right, most
Mhm.
likely. Um, whatever happened to him. Those
Right.
are those are definitely my highlights from each episode.
And so final question. Um, what um what playbook, if you were a player, what playbook would you play?
Okay, I would definitely play the hot shot as I did during the first time I got to play Chew. As my practice kind of game, and
Mhm.
it's because there is a attribute called guts, and you
Mhm.
can use guts to do all these kinds of risky situations and kind of throw yourself out there. The hot shot makes you feel like that Vice character. Maybe I'm partial because of the Miami thing, but the Vice character's like, I'm a loose cannon, but I'm the best, kind of situation. And that's what
Mhm.
Artorta Espadero loves to do. So just playing that kind of character where a literal perk is that whenever something happens that's cool, something else explodes is just such a fun. It's just such a fun way to interact with the world. So Hotshot is my preferred.
And always walk away from explosions in slow motion, no matter how fast the
Putting
explosion
on
is happening.
putting on the sunglasses or visor. What? Yeah,
Mhm.
it's so great. Oh.
Um, oh, we do have one more question from the chat from Geeky
Mhm.
Nomad. Which stretch goal are you most excited for if it gets there?
My stretch goal that I'm most excited about are essentially like the writers. that we're gonna get added to Chew. There's like source books and other props that are really helpful coming out, but I love Chew so much. I believe in the book and the writing team and the time that I've gotten to spend with them. They're a really dedicated group of people, and all of the stretch goal writers have been amazing people with great perspectives to add to the game in a way that I hope I get to do with the campaign and kind of thinking about it in a more international way. And so
Mhm.
seeing everybody, the just extremely diverse cast of people that could contribute, and there's quite a bit of them. Like it's my cheat answer. It's not just one, but all the
Mhm.
writers. So um,
Nice.
that's mine.
All right. Well, Anthony, where can we find you online?
Okay, so I'm mostly on Weave the Tale, and I'll be here on Friday, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, playing Chew, of course. But you can also catch me on Wednesdays playing one shots. Next week I'll be doing Shadows over Soul, and the week after that I'll be doing Black Void. So just some fun, spooky Halloween one shots, coming up with Arena, especially with Black Void. There's going to be like a whole arena type session. So sign up if you want to go get on that casting call. And then, of course, I just love posting and just kind of engaging with the wider community on Twitter now that I'm a part of it in the last year. And so you can
Nice.
find me, and that's right here, this little name here, Prain the Plague. And maybe one day I'll talk about why I got that name. But for now, that's that's the name.
Yeah. Okay, and I do want to invite everybody who is in the chat to hang out with us because as we are wrapping up, we are going to be rating Gehenna Gaming, who is actually playing Chew right now.
Right now,
So if
right
you want to
now.
see how this game is played, stick with us real quick. And that's going to do it for us for this episode of Weaver's Circle. Thank you so much, Anthony, for joining us. And I look forward to seeing the tale that you and your players weave together. You can catch Chew on our channel right here on Fridays. That's tomorrow at
It's
8:30
tomorrow.
p.m. Eastern. Uh, and yeah, and this episode will be on YouTube. Hopefully within a week of this airing, and we will have the podcast up and running soon. So until then, today's a good day to roll some dice. They say, and by they I mean the people we're on the run from, that food is an ugly business. That food is intolerant and fake, even illegal. Well, I never saw food as an ugly business at all. I always saw it as, well, charming. I mean, this food charms you. It takes you in. It makes you feel welcome. Travel is like that. It isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it hurts. It even breaks your heart. But that's okay. Hopefully, you leave something good behind. Just don't bite off more than you can chew.